So today we're going to talk about Bourdieu's structure and habitus. Pierre Bourdieu was a French sociologist, philosopher, and anthropologist that developed several influential concepts throughout his career, with structures and habitus being among the most significant. So these concepts are key to understanding Bourdieu's theories on how society is structured and how individuals within it navigate and affect their social world. So we'll start off with habitus, a concept that students kind of struggle with, but it's not very difficult to understand. So habitus is one of Bourdieu's most innovative concepts, describing the internalized dispositions, perceptions, and practices that individuals develop in response to their external social conditions. It is the way society becomes ingrained in individuals, guiding their behaviors, tastes, and choices in a way that feels kind of natural and intuitive. So, habitus is shaped by an individual's early experiences, according to Bourdieu, within a particular social and economic class, and it influences how they perceive the world, react to situations, and eventually make decisions. So, crucially, habitus is not fixed. It can evolve over time as individuals encounter new experiences and environments. So, habitus refers to the deeply ingrained habits, skills, and dispositions that individuals acquire through living in their particular social environments. These habits may include ways of acting, thinking, and feeling that seems natural and are taken for granted by individuals within a society. So, in other words, the habitus shapes and is shaped by the social conditions and experiences individuals encounter throughout their lives. So, Bourdieu argued that the habitus is not fixed or static, but evolves over time, influenced by new experiences, education, and social interactions. However, because it is deeply ingrained from an early age, change within the habitus can be slow and difficult. So the concept is crucial for understanding how social structures and conditions influence individual practices and perceptions, often in subtle and unconscious ways. So habitus for Pierre Bourdieu plays a central role in his theory of social practice, where it interacts with what he calls the field, the social spaces within their rules, structures, and hierarchies, and capital per se, resources such as economic wealth, social connections, cultural knowledge, etc., to produce and reproduce social order and ultimately power relations. So it helps explain why individuals and groups within specific social contexts often act in predictable ways that conform to and reinforce existing social structures, even when it may not seem to be in their best interest to do so. By understanding habitus, sociologists and other social scientists can gain insights into the ways in which individuals' backgrounds, experiences, and social positions shape their perceptions and actions, and of course, opportunities within societies. Now, there's also this habitus, and then there's structures that humans encounter. And in Bourdieu's theory, structures refer to the objective, external forces and systems that shape society. So these include the social institutions like the family, education, and legal systems, as well as more abstract structures like the distribution of power and capital within society. Bourdieu is particularly interested in how these structures perpetuate inequalities and shape social practices. He emphasizes that structures are not static. They are both shaped and shape the actions of individuals and groups within society. For Bourdieu, capital is very important in this interplay. In Bourdieu's theory, capital goes beyond the economic sense to include various forms of power and resources that individuals and groups can possess. So Bourdieu identifies several types of capital. For example, economic capital, referring mostly to wealth and financial assets. But then there's also social capital, the networks you build and the connections you have. Then cultural capital, knowledge, skills, education, and advantages that one acquires through being part of a particular social class. And then there's symbolic capital. You know that as prestige, recognition, honor. Each of these forms of capital can be converted into another under certain conditions and plays a crucial role in social stratification and mobility. And then finally, with the structure and habitus, there's the field. The fields are structured social spaces or arenas of production, circulation and appropriation of goods, services, knowledge or status, and the competitive positions occupied by actors within them. For Bourdieu, each field has its own rules, schemes of domination, and forms of capital that are valued. For example, these fields of, let's say, art or education, and law and politics, with its own dynamics. And then how does this practice takes place within this field? So for Bourdieu, practice refers to the actions and behaviors of individuals and groups within the context of the habitus and the fields in which they operate. So practices are neither purely determined by external structures, nor merely the result of free will. Instead, they emerge from the relationship between an agent's habitus and the constraints and opportunities presented by the field. So this interplay for Bourdieu, in Bourdieu's theory, he highlights how social practices are conditioned and limited by the structures of society, yet they also have the potential to change those structures through the agency of being an individual or agency of groups. His work emphasizes the power dynamics and struggles for distinction and legitimacy within various fields, showing how the distribution of different types of capital contributes to the reproduction of social inequalities. So Bourdieu's theory posits a dynamic relationship between structures and habitus, more nuanced than, let's say, structure and agency. So structures provide the social context within which individuals develop their habitus, while habitus influences how individuals perceive, react to, and potentially alter those structures. So this relationship creates a cycle where social practices and norms are both produced and reproduced, contributing to the persistence of social structures over time. However, Bourdieu also allows for the possibility of change, as shifts in habitus can lead to changes in practices, which can eventually affect the structures themselves. So Bourdieu's concepts of structures and habitus have had a profound impact on social sciences, offering a framework really for analyzing the complex interplay between individual actions and societal forces. His work encourages a deeper examination of how social inequalities are perpetuated and how individuals can navigate and potentially alter their social worlds. So next time, think about your box inside your skull, that's your habitus, and how that habitus was formed earlier on in your life, and how that habitus has to almost navigate any new social structures and circumstances that present in your pathway. And this kind of habitus acts like a mediator, you can argue, that finds an acceptable role within society based on a repository of ideas of the past that becomes your habitus. We'll talk later.